heavy metal door slammed shut, echoing through the narrow prison cell. Jake's heart pounded in his chest as the cold walls closed in around him. He didn't belong here. Not yet. Not like this. He had been chasing the story for weeks. A strange case about people disappearing in the old town. The police never found any trace. All witnesses talked about one thing. A dark presence. Something that could follow you, enter your mind, and never let go. But Jake wasn't a believer. He was a reporter. Facts mattered. Until tonight. He ran down the alley, senses sharp. Something was behind him, breathing heavily, chasing. He ducked into a side door, a peeling wooden frame that led into a forgotten building. The door locked shut by itself, or so he thought. The next thing he remembered was cold metal beneath him, the hum of fluorescent lights flickering. He was inside a locked cell, no windows, just a barred door with a tiny slot. Jake's breath hitched as the darkness seemed to pulse against the pale walls. "Hello?" he called, voice cracking. No response. Then the whisper started, faint at first, like a shadow brushing past his ear. "Jake." He froze. "Who's there?" He edged toward the door, pressing his forehead against the cold bars. His eyes searched the dim corridor. Silence. But the whisper came again, stronger. "Jake, I'm inside." He stumbled backward, heart slamming against his ribs. Inside, it hit him. This wasn't just some presence outside. It had found a way in. To him, to his mind. "Stay calm," he told himself. "It's just your nerves." But the voice whispered again, clearer now. "I'm hungry." The cell door rattled, chains dragging. Jake spun around, but the room was empty. The air grew thick, pressing down on his chest like gravity itself was heavier. "Why are you here?" Jake demanded. The voice chuckled, a low, hateful sound, like nails scraping bone. "To hunt, to possess, to win." Suddenly, Jake's vision blurred. His reflection in the small cracked mirror on the wall flickered, showing not his face, but something twisted, black eyes glowing with hunger. He slammed his fists against the wall. "No, you won't take me." But the darkness seeped under the door, curling like smoke, creeping toward his feet. His body grew numb. His thoughts weren't his own anymore. The voice whispered one last time. "Now you run, but I follow. Forever." The door creaked open. The hallway stretched endless and cold. Jake stumbled out, but the hunger inside him was louder than his scream. He realized with chilling clarity, the cell was never meant to keep him in. It was meant to hold something back, something that was now inside him. No one could stop what hunted him next, and it was only just beginning. A fog hung thick and low over the old bridge, swallowing the world in an endless gray. Mark gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white with tension. He didn't like driving through this part of town, especially not this late. But the shortcut was supposed to save him time. Now, with the mist wrapping around his car like a cold hand, he wished he had taken the long route. The headlights barely cut through the fog, and the bridge appeared like a phantom, its rusted rails looming out of the gloom. As he crossed onto the bridge, his radio crackled and went silent. An eerie silence settled in the car, broken only by the steady beat of his heart. Mark's eyes flicked nervously to the rearview mirror. Nothing. Just fog. Then faintly, a whisper came through the silence, carried on the cold air. He frowned and turned down the radio, searching for the source. The whisper grew clearer. It wasn't words at first, just an indecipherable murmur. But soon it became a voice, soft and coaxing. "Mark, come, join us," it breathed. He slammed his foot on the brake, but the car refused to stop. The accelerator pressed down as if by unseen fingers. His hands fought the wheel, but it jerked violently, pulling him forward, deeper into the fog. Please," Mark stammered, panic rising. "Let me go." The whispers grew louder, merging into a chorus that seemed to echo from the very shadows. Shapes moved in the fog, shifting and twisting beyond the edge of the light. Mark could feel their eyes on him, cold and endless. The bridge beneath the car creaked, groaned. Time stretched and warped. The world outside the fog seemed to fade away. Suddenly, the car slowed, but not because of Mark. The engine died, and the vehicle stopped in the middle of the bridge. Outside, the fog thickened, pressing against the windows like tendrils. Mark tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. His breathing quickened, heart hammering. The whispers returned, now chanting in an ancient tongue, filling his mind with images, endless voids, impossible geometries, and eyes that saw beyond time. A presence touched his mind, cold and vast. He was no longer in control. The bridge was not just a crossing over water, but a threshold between worlds. Suddenly, the fog parted just enough to reveal a great dark shape beneath the bridge, a monstrous, writhing mass with countless eyes and shifting limbs watching him. Its voice boomed inside his head. "You are chosen, Mark, to serve what waits beyond the mist." Terror turned to numbness as his will slipped away. His hands left the wheel. The car began to move again, this time drawn forward by force. Mark felt himself fading, becoming a vessel, a puppet for the entity below. The fog closed in once more, swallowing car and driver alike. The old bridge stood silent again, waiting for the next soul foolish enough to cross. And somewhere deep in the mist, the whispers waited too. Soft, patient, eternal, lost forever. A wind whispered through the trees as Mark stepped into the forest. The sun had just set, leaving behind a thick, creeping darkness. He wanted to prove the old stories wrong. People said this forest was cursed, haunted by creatures that stole control from anyone who dared enter. Mark didn't believe in monsters. He was a skeptic. But tonight, something felt wrong. He walked deeper among the gnarled trunks. The branches seemed to reach out like fingers, blocking the moonlight. His heartbeat quickened. Then came the sound. Soft footsteps behind him. He stopped and turned. Nothing. Just shadows. He told himself it was his imagination. Then, a voice, low and smooth, echoed from the trees. "You shouldn't be here." Mark froze. He called out, "Who's there?" No answer. Suddenly, cold hands grabbed his shoulders. Mark spun around. A pale face stared back, eyes glowing red in the dark. The figure smiled, revealing sharp fangs. "You're one of us now," it whispered. Mark tried to break free, but his body felt heavy, unresponsive. His mind clouded over with strange feelings. Fear turned to hunger, and the hunger was not for food. The vampire pulled him into a small clearing, where more pale figures waited. Their eyes shone, their fangs bared. Mark's control slipped away as their whispers filled his mind, telling him to join them, to embrace the night and the thirst. He struggled, But inside, something was breaking. His breath grew cold, his senses sharpened painfully. The forest around him seemed alive, watching, waiting. "Say you'll stay," one vampire said softly, "and the night will be yours forever." Mark wanted to scream, but no sound came out. His hands trembled, turning icy. His reflection in a nearby pool showed his skin paling, eyes reddening. Panic rose, but it was too late. He was changing, lost. The forest swallowed his last scream as the pack moved silently into the darkness. The hunger renewed with one more victim. And the forest waited, patient and hungry, for the next soul to lose control. The moon hung low over the old cemetery, its pale light casting long shadows between cracked headstones. Jake had always scoffed at the warnings about the place. Old stories, he had said, nothing but superstition. But tonight, standing among the weathered graves, he felt a chill deeper than the cold. The wind whispered through the dead branches like a warning. But Jake pushed on. He wanted proof that the legends were false. He reached the heart of the cemetery, where a twisted oak tree stood alone. Its gnarled roots broke through the earth, as if clawing their way out. That's when the pain started. It began in his hands, a burning, itching sensation that spread quickly up his arms. Jake dropped to his knees, clutching his forearms as the skin seemed to ripple and stretch. The world around him blurred. He could hear something growling in his chest, a deep guttural sound that wasn't his own. Frantic, he looked at his hands. Thick fur was bursting through the skin, dark and coarse. His fingers twisted, nails sharpening into claws. His bones cracked and shifted painfully, folding into a new, terrifying shape. Jake tried to scream, but all that came out was a low snarl. His mind raced, but it wasn't the same mind he had minutes before. Something wild and hungry took over. He ran without thinking, crashing through the cemetery gates and into the dark woods beyond. The werewolf inside him tore at the leash Jake had desperately tried to hold. Memories slipped away, replaced by instincts driven only by hunger and rage. Under the full moon, Jake was no longer a man. He was a beast, prowling the shadows, losing every shred of control. Days later, when the sun rose, Jake lay near the oak tree. His body was human again, but his eyes were hollow and distant. He shook, struggling to remember who he was. A voice behind him said softly, "You went searching for monsters, Jake. Now you've become one." He turned slowly to see an old man with a knowing gaze. "There are things in this cemetery that don't forgive," the man said. "The curse grabs hold and it never lets go." Jake realized too late that some stories were warnings. The old cemetery was no place to test fate, and losing control was worse than death. He knew the beast inside was waiting, ready to return with the next full moon. And this time, Jake wondered if he would ever come back at all. The sun was setting when Lily found the cave. She had been wandering through the dense forest, chasing a rabbit that disappeared beyond the twisted trees. The cave's entrance gaped like a dark mouth, swallowing the last rays of light. Something about it called to her, whispering secrets she couldn't ignore. She hesitated. Shadows clung to the cave walls, and a cold wind sighed from within. But curiosity pushed her forward. Just a peek, she told herself. The forest was quiet now, except for the dripping of water inside the cave. Lily stepped inside. Her flashlight flickered, casting long, shaky beams on jagged rocks and strange markings. The deeper she went, the colder it felt. The air tasted bitter, heavy with something old and forgotten. Suddenly, she heard a voice, soft and sweet, like a lullaby sung by a hidden child. "Lily, come closer." Her heart raced. She shone her light ahead, but saw only endless darkness. "Who's there?" she called out, trembling. No answer, only the echo of her own voice bouncing back. A thin trail of sparkling dust appeared on the floor, glowing faintly. Against better judgment, Lily followed it. It led her deeper, to a narrow tunnel winding downward. The walls twisted strangely, as if they wanted to trap her inside forever. The air grew tighter, harder to breathe. She tried to turn back, but the passage behind her had vanished. It was only blackness now. Panic surged. "This isn't real," she whispered. "I'm dreaming." But the cave wasn't a dream. It was alive. Lily's flashlight flickered out. She was swallowed by darkness. In the black, the voice spoke again, more urgent this time. "Don't be afraid, Lily. We just want to play." Something brushed her hand, curious and cold, like a doll's porcelain skin. "Who are you?" she asked, voice shaking. "Your old friend," it said. "The girl from the story you never finished." Lily's mind spun. The fairy tale she used to read as a child. The one about a girl lost in a dark cave, never seen again. She had stopped reading it because it scared her. The cave wanted her to finish the tale. "No," she whispered, pulling away. But the dust sparkled again, pulling her feet forward. "Stay with us," came many voices, soft but hungry. She ran, or tried to. Her legs felt heavy, like roots growing from the ground. The tunnel grew colder. Shapes pressed close. Shadows with too many eyes and crooked smiles. Suddenly, she spilled into a cavern glowing with pale blue light. In its center was a tiny girl sitting on a broken throne. She smiled without warmth. "Why are you afraid of the unknown?" the girl asked. "Because you're monsters," Lily answered, trembling. The girl's smile widened. "We are your forgotten stories, the endings you refused to write. Now you'll belong here too." Lily screamed, but the cave swallowed her voice. Her flashlight flickered back on for a brief second. In the pale light, dozens of small hands reached out from the walls, and then silence. Days later, villagers found the cave's entrance open, but no sign of Lily. Only her flashlight lay on the ground, flickering weakly. The dust trail led inside, endless, twisting, and dark. No one dares enter, because some stories should never be finished.